Going beyond the headlines. Asking the questions you want answered. Exploring government policies and how they impact you. We are delving deeper.
Good evening and welcome to Delving Deeper. I am your host, Ayana Carter. Joining us this evening is Mr. Antonio Ross. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Secondary Road Rehabilitation and Improvement Company Limited. Good evening, Mr. Ross, and welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening, Ayana, and thank you for having me.
Mr. Ross, let's begin our conversation this evening by you explaining the role and function of the Secondary Road Rehabilitation and Improvement Company Limited.
Well, the role and function of the Secondary Roads Rehabilitation and Improvement Company Limited is effectively to lend bandwidth to the road repair network, specifically to the secondary roads in Trinidad and Tobago, to add additional capacity to what already exists, since there are other entities that currently undertake road rehabilitation work in Trinidad and Tobago and on the secondary roads.
All right, so then what is considered a secondary road, and who is responsible for maintaining those roads?
Well, a secondary road, in a sort of a layman term definition, is any road that is secondary to the main road. So where you have highways, then you have main roads. Any road secondary to the main road is considered a secondary road, except the roads that are vested under the Ministry of Agriculture, which are agriculture access roads. So is that lower end, higher end, and in between, the in between, which is secondary roads. All the secondary roads in Trinidad and Tobago are actually vested under the 14 municipal corporations under the Municipal Corporation Act.
And they are responsible for, of course, maintaining those roads.
Yes, the municipal corporations are responsible for maintaining those roads, which in fact effectively is the local government.
The company was recently transferred from the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government to the Ministry of Works and Transport. What is being done by your company to ensure there's no overlap of repair works being carried out by other agencies under the ministry?
One of the concerns that we have when we came on board is we saw that there's no coordinating entity for all the road repairs in Trinidad and Tobago. There are several organizations in Trinidad and Tobago, whether it be in central government, under a ministry, or within local government, who are responsible for the vast network of roads, which would be the highways, the main roads, the secondary roads, the agriculture access roads. As I indicated earlier, the secondary roads are our main concern. However, there are several entities working within that network. But because there's no coordinating entity, we have taken the specific initiative to reach out to the various entities whenever we are about to go look at a specific road to see if it was already reviewed, in order to be able to do the estimate and send out the invitation for tender to ensure there's no duplication of efforts.
So it could be argued, right, that a significant percentage of damage to the roads can be blamed on repairs done by the Water and Sewerage Authority, WASA. What is the current arrangement between WASA and your company, and how do you explain the numerous reports of like gaping holes on the nation's roads?
I would beg to differ on the characterization that a significant number of roads, in terms of, we have a lot of roads, and a massive road network in Trinidad, and yes, as the traveling public travels the road, they see a lot of leaks, etc., but it's not a significant number of roads that are affected by WASA. Second to that, I mean, the question itself kind of brings me back to something I remember from on Sesame Street growing up, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? So it's not WASA who is causing the leak, but more so the fact that the pipeline network has been there for decades. It is what we would consider aged infrastructure. And because the infrastructure is aged, you would find that over time, the lines would, on their own, they would rupture. And that's when you see WASA coming and making those repairs. We may also appreciate that it may not be in a timely manner, but the reasoning again is because there are thousands of leaks occurring simultaneously across the country. Because as I indicated, we have a vast network, and it is in fact age infrastructure. We are the secondary roads. What we do is before we go to, once we send out an invitation for tender to pave a particular road, we immediately engage WASA. I must admit that WASA has also been very, very good with working with us. Extremely good. All the managers, all the supervisors in the various regions, north, south, east, west, throughout Trinidad and Tobago. So I could hardly ever say anything bad about WASA, to be quite honest. Having said that, they would normally go ahead and repair the leak. Then we would go and pave the road. But inevitably, let's think about it logically. If you have a pipeline buried that's been there anywhere between 10, 20, 30, or 40 years, and when you're paving the road, you put a 5, a 7, or a 10-ton roller over it, then obviously it'll rupture again. A few of them. So you repair 10, you repair the road, you get 2 rupture, means WASA has to come back. And that's when the public see WASA digging up a road that just paved. But in fact, it's the issue of age infrastructure is something from an organizational perspective, meaning WASA, that has occurred over an extended period of time. You can't just blame whoever is the current administration of WASA, but it has to be looked at from a holistic perspective in order to go to get to the point where we have generally good infrastructure and generally good roads. To me, that's the best way forward. But WASA has been a very good partner to us in terms of working on getting repairs, getting the leak repairs done so that we can get the road repairs done.
Right. You mentioned that your network is vast. Just how vast are we talking? So that persons can probably have an idea of what we're working with.
It's not something that needs a lot of explanation, to be quite honest, because let's think about it. Throughout Trinidad and throughout the entire Trinidad, we have 1.4 million people. I would gather we have how much? 100,000 households. But if you look at the statistical office data, there may be some squatting areas that may not have water, but generally Trinidad and Tobago, most of the population has access to pipe-borne water. You're looking at wells that are drilled, reservoirs, pumps, 10-inch pipelines, smaller 4-inch pipelines, smaller 1.2-inch pipelines. I mean, that is how vast it is. You've got pipelines of various sizes crossing streets, crossing roads, and over time, from the moment we started having pipe-borne water to today, there are different ages those pipelines would be at this point. So age infrastructure is the order of the day. And of course, from what I know, WASA has undertaken a massive rehabilitation program of their own in terms of rehabilitating their pipelines and replacing a pipeline replacement program. And I mean, I wish them the best of success, but at the same time, it's understandable that because of the amount of pipelines, it's a tremendous amount of work, manpower, running on limited budget, etc. I mean, it's a humongous task.
And how much money has been allocated to your company to carry out road repairs?
Well, the initial allocation upon the formation of the company was 200 million, of which we had only received 100 million into our coffers. And in the last budget, we were allocated a further 50 million. So that's what we have at this point in time in order to conduct road rehabilitation work.
So, given the investment into the company, are you able to say what's causing the slow pace at which the repairs are taking place? Some of the repairs.
I would say that there's a process that to me is a little bit slowing down. It slows down the operation. The process being that we have to wait for a work program from our line ministry. But that work program is in effect actually coming from the municipal corporation, which, as I indicated, the roads are vested under the municipal corporation, which fall under the Ministry of Local Government. And then the Ministry of Local Government has to send the list of road projects to the Ministry of Works, who then have to allocate a work program to us. We have to wait for that work program. So while we are waiting for that work program, time is actually passing, and it means no work is being conducted. And as a result, we're severely curtailed in our efforts to bring relief to the general public.
Yeah, and that is what persons are seeing, the general public are seeing as they traverse the roads every day, wondering, what's the problem, what's the holdup?
Well, I mean, that's one of the holdups, but at the same time, you also have to look at it from the perspective of the recently enacted procurement legislation. Mm-hmm. It means, by the fact that this legislation exists, it means that we have to wait at least a minimum of 6 weeks before we could actually start a project, even after we spotted that project and decided that we want to do this project. It takes 6 weeks before you can actually start it. And then you have to keep in mind the fact that for at least 1/3 of the year, you have a lot of rainfall. There's no way you're going to be paving with hot mix during the rainy season and certain areas that may be prone to flooding, etc.
Are there any plans in place and probably any discussions taking place to, make that process a little easier?
We've had conversations with the procurement legislator, and honestly, as it currently stands, the answer is no, in terms of that 6-week period. In terms of the ministry itself, I have made suggestions that we use the client ministry, which in fact is the Ministry of Local Government, which was bring us much closer to being able to effect works and communicate and line up directly with the municipal corporations in order to get work done faster.
Currently, how many small contractors are eligible to receive contracts from your company to carry out these repairs?
Well, at the last count, which is just yesterday, the entire procurement depository has 235 contractors in it. Of that 235, there are 101 contractors registered as small contractors, which means if you spread that across 14 municipal corporations, you're looking at an average of seven small contractors per municipal corporation. That is not a lot. Prior to the procurement legislation, there were easily hundreds of smaller contractors. But I understand why that is taking place, because the procurement legislation itself and the ability to qualify within the procurement depository does require some financial constraints in terms of being VAT registered, proper VAT registration, as well as NIS and all those other stuff, which a lot of the smaller contractors are not prepared for at this time. And we can see that a change is taking place, because at the time, let's say about June, there were only 116 contractors in the entire procurement depository who were eligible to do road repairs.
Right.
And now there's 235. So we're seeing an improvement, but I would still say it's not sufficient to be able to engage small contractors so that they could be partaking in the economic activity of road rehabilitation.
I was just about to ask you if the act had anything to do with the number of contractors being so small in terms of the number in the municipal corporation. So what would you tell other small contractors who may be dissuaded by the amount of information that they may have to give to satisfy the act?
Well, the fact of the matter is the procurement legislation has made it such that as long as any business entity wish to do business with the government, they have to register. So it's not something you get the option to register or not to register. So I would tell small contractors is figure it out. In the case of those who wish to do business with us, reach out to our company, and we have been assisting numerous small contractors to get registered in the procurement depository in order to be able to do business with us.
Right. What assurances can you give to citizens, members of the public who have been appealing to the authorities to, fix their roads?
Well, I would say this. At last count, a few months ago, the Ministry of Local Government forwarded a list to me that contained 1,281 roads that required repair in the secondary road network. We have to also remember that on a day-to-day basis, more roads are being added to those, while those roads are actually getting worse. Just for example, the secondary roads in our current capacity, we can undertake 300 road projects per year. That's a small dent. We have several other entities throughout the country who are also undertaking road repairs simultaneously. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, all I can say to the population is that we will get 300 per year and we will get them done and we will do it properly, while the other entities are also working. But at the same time, you can easily see why this situation of road repairs is a capacity problem. One entity, two entities, three entities cannot clear the backlog. And what we may in fact need is similar entities to the secondary roads vested within the municipal corporations so that they could undertake similar type of works and get that backlog cleared. One of the things we also will be doing early next year will be have a pothole eradication program where we will engage small contractors from within the municipal corporation and closer within the neighborhoods to undertake specifically pothole repairs. So as soon as these potholes pop up, we'll tackle them so that they will not become an exacerbated situation where you have more massive repairs to undertake. So I mean, these are the type of things we're looking at, but at the end of the day, we must be mindful that there's a massive backlog of road rehabilitation programs, projects and roads, and there's only so many entities tasked with rehabilitating roads. And so keeping up with it will always be a problem for a while going forward.
I know that we've seen on the media, social media, traditional media, where some communities have done some self-help, especially when it comes to like the pothole repairs in their communities. Is that something that is encouraged, or what do we do in those types of situations?
I understand and empathize with people who require relief, and sometimes they feel that they have to take it upon themselves. I am also not a fan of, how do I put it, the use of coal mix and anything else for road repairs. But again, I understand if there's a pothole in my neighborhood and I need to get relief today, I can't wait for the 1,281 backlog to clear for me to get relief. Okay, so I understand that. But at the same time, a proper road repair has nothing to do with coal mix, but it has to do with hot mix, which comes from an asphalt plant, which means you need to get a competent authority to be able to get that work done. Any other relief is temporary relief, and nothing's wrong with temporary relief, but they have to understand in the short term, 6 months, it'll have to be redone soon as the rains fall and it opens up again.
Now, as 2023 comes to an end, would you say that you accomplished all that you set out to achieve in the last year?
Well, we certainly have not. The fact of the matter is, this is a new entity, and we have just realized our capability and ability with a project management team of 30 persons. We're able to get 300 plus road rehabilitation projects done per year. That is not a lot. Notwithstanding the different issues we have with getting our work program from the ministry, our line ministry, that in itself keeps us back from getting what we want done and to satisfy the general public. But again, I would still also say that we need more small contractors to register in the procurement depository, as well as we need to get more capacity, meaning more organizations similar to ours, to be able to conduct road rehabilitation work, to clear that backlog, and to ensure that we keep a pace with the rate at which roads are damaged in this country. Project management units, such as the Secondary Roads Rehabilitation Improvement Company, is able to do 300 plus road projects per year. What it also does, it opens a window into the possibilities via local government reform, whereby each of the 14 municipal corporations can in fact have a similar entity like this existing within that corporation to be able to bring road repair relief to their burgesses. It also shows that you're able to localize the use of local contractors and localize economic activity within each municipal corporation to contribute towards effective road rehabilitation and repairs within each municipal corporation and the communities.
All right. What can we look forward to in 2024?
In 2024, we could look forward to more efficiency, the use of more local contractors, and definitely more road rehabilitation work as we expand our capabilities in delivering quality work to the burgesses of Trinidad.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the Ministry of Local Government would have sent you 1,281 projects for rehabilitation by your company. However, you also said that 300 is the most, 300, maybe a little more, is your capacity per year. How does that affect in terms of your allocation? Because you said that, 200 million, but you would have gotten 100 million with an additional 50 million in the last budget. So how does that augur for the for your budget and in terms of application to the repair works?
Well, my understanding of the way that this normally would operate is, first of all, we would have a body of work that we will attempt to get done. But by the time we get to midway review, by the time we've completed all the projects, if we've spent all the money that we have, we should be able to apply for more funds to do additional work. Again, an organization such as ours will always be capacity constrained. There will always be a maximum volume of work that can be done. So I see no problem with us completing the body of work that we are capable of doing, and the government putting things in place to ensure that there are other parties doing their part and completing the total number of road rehabilitation work in Trinidad.
Beside capacity, which you have mentioned a lot, what are some of the other challenges you experience in the company?
Well, like I said earlier as well, one of the biggest challenges is the methodology by which we receive our work program. It needs to be a little more simplified. One of the, that's really and truly the main challenge, that and capacity, and not having sufficient small contractors registered. Apart from that, we are a well-oiled unit and able to deliver good quality work to the population.
Right. Mr. Ross, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, well, my final thoughts is for the authorities to look at a unit that would effectively manage all the work programs that exist, so that there will not be duplication of efforts by various entities engaged in road rehabilitation, as well as to consider under the local government reform to have a similar unit like this in every municipal corporation. I think that will go a long way towards alleviating the road repair issues that the general public have. And also for us to embark upon MOU with WASA to be able to be there just as they are there for us, to be there as soon as they've completed their their pipeline repairs, that we could complete the road repairs to bring more effective relief.
And that's our show. Let me thank Mr. Ross for joining us this evening on this episode of Delving Deeper.
Thank you very much for having me.
Join us at the same time next week for another episode of Delving Deeper. I am your host, Ayana Carter, and from all of us here, have a good night.